Well, even though the deadline to renew driver's licenses has now been extended to the end of March next year, the problems the testing centres are facing remain. Many are left frustrated when trying to renew licenses or book appointments. They have to deal with an online system that doesn't really work. Long queues and delays. Our reporters, Ronald Masinda in Cape Town, Slindelo Masigane in Johannesburg, and Letiwe Mdluli in Durban, this hour tracking how people are coping with this. Let's start first in the mother city in Cape Town. Ronald, good afternoon. What's been the response on the ground since the Minister of Transport, Fikile Mbalula, announced the extension of the grace period for the renewal of driver's license to March next year?
So the City of Cape Town has welcomed the decision made by the Transport Minister. It says that the issue of backlogs is not only a Cape Town issue but a national issue, and that since for the past few weeks the City of Cape Town has tried to mitigate the problem by increasing its working or office hours. So this has allowed many more residents to go into their centres to try and renew their various licenses. But there is also a catch here, and the issue here is that the city now has to pay more in terms of for the staff, in terms of working extra hours. This is what MACO member for Safety and Security, JP Smith, had to say further.
So anytime national government assists with additional resources or capacity to perform this, we're very grateful. Remember, local government does this on an agency basis for national government, and we have to use their equipment like eNCAs. We realized in the preceding months already that this bottleneck was getting quite bad, because you basically had most of a year, 3/4 of a year of 2020's deadlines all deferred to this 31 August deadline. And the risk with that is that people over a long period of time who should have gone are suddenly all trying to get there within a few weeks, and of course everybody leaves it until the last moment. So from about 2 weeks ago we started with extended hours. We extended the hours from Mondays through to Saturdays from 8 in the morning until 4:30, so we added the additional Saturday hours, and then we opened Sundays as well from 8 until 3 o'clock.
So, Ronald, I'm just wondering, how is Cape Town City, the City of Cape Town, planning to deal with the backlogs? What kind of solutions are they thinking about there in Cape Town?
So JP Smith went on to further say that as the City of Cape Town, they've been trying to offer government advice with regards to how they can resolve the issue. And the main issue is really with the electronic system that government uses, where it often crashes, and the city says that often many residents have complained about this, and there doesn't seem to be a long-term solution. And that JP Smith going on to further say that the issue of backlogs is not only an issue that one can date back just because of the current pandemic, COVID-19, but it has been a long-standing issue, and that there needs to be a long-term solution to try and resolve it. This is what JP Smith had to say further with regards to that particular question.
I think the backlogs are a problem everywhere. I've had the privilege of visiting DLTCs in other parts of this country and observed queues, and even queuing facilities that are built outside, and queue runners. So I think there is a problem with the amount of resources made available to local government to manage these DLTCs. So in the case of Cape Town, we subsidize this. We take city money and we subsidize the funding we get from national via province. We subsidize this. So it's actually is costing our ratepayers rates money to fulfill a national function in order to make it more accessible. Otherwise it would be even more problematic. And that's always a problem when you're subsidizing national competencies.
I guess there's going to be a lot of work that needs to be done. Let's come to Johannesburg now and say good afternoon to Slindelo in Cape Town. They've welcomed the minister's announcement of an extension. I mean, I guess that has brought a lot of relief to many motorists who were worried about this deadline that was looming this end of August. And this extension has brought relief to many, I guess.
Certainly so, but I think for many of those here in Gauteng, it doesn't actually solve the problem. Many of those that I've spoken to here on the ground are saying, okay, fine, you've extended it till March next year, but what then happens once more comes March next year, because they're saying that it's going to be guaranteed that this backlog will certainly not be dealt with still by then. While there may be some inroads that will be made, there are certainly going to be many more challenges still that are going to be faced for motorists. So of course it's a welcome relief. I mean, the eNCA system in particular in Gauteng has brought a lot of frustration for those who need to deal with it. I mean, you will log on every day trying to get a booking, but sometimes you'll just not get a slot, and many of them saying that to get a slot, in fact, you're going to have to pay for one. So on top of having to pay to renew your license, you also have to pay to get a booking online. Many saying that they're also having to go through private companies or driving schools in order to be able to make that booking. And so I think the eNCA system in particular for those in Gauteng has certainly been a headache, even though it was supposed to assist in stopping queues at licensing departments, as well as making it easier, Bradan, but it just seems to have made it just a little bit more difficult. But let's just take a listen to what the minister had to say around that extension.
In order to give motorists a fair opportunity to renew their licenses, while we are rolling out a number of measures to improve efficiencies and resolve challenges, we have decided to extend further the grace period for the renewal of licenses. And our emphasis is that when the renewal is actually given, don't go on the eve of this deadline to go and renew. Start today. And I know you will reason with me and ask that the problem is not with the motorist, it's with our systems, the DLTCs, and the things that I've actually outlined that prohibit motorists to do this driver's license thing easy, simple, and faster, which is what we need to get up to. All learners' licenses, driving license cards, temporary driving licenses, and professional driving permits that expire during the period that commence from the 26th March 2020 up to and including 31st August 2021 are deemed to be valid, and their validity periods are extended for a further grace period ending on 31st March 2022.
So, Minister of Transport, they're announcing that extension of that grace period. Let's go to eThekwini now, Durban. Lethiwe Mdluli, I mean, we understand there are many problems, and we see that Cape Town is looking at its own solutions as well in collaboration with national government. But so far, while motorists are relieved about the extension, there remains a lot of unanswered questions and challenges. I understand in KwaZulu-Natal, they believe that the pandemic has also made things worse for them. Tell us more.
Well, but then earlier on I spoke to the transport department in the province, their spokesperson, Kwanele Ngalane, who tells me that for a week back in July, you'd remember that we had the unrest in July, they could not operate, a lot of licensing centers were closed, and because of that, the backlog grew even further. There are many problems that licensing departments are facing in the province. The first one would be that they are trying to pilot the system where people can book online. That system is not currently running in the province. Only a few testing centers are running that. They are hoping that this system will be able to help in alleviating the backlog. We also spoke to a few people who were standing in the queue outside the Verulam testing center a bit earlier on, who tell us that every time they have to come to testing centers, they have to at least get like 5 hours from their work so that they will be able to receive assistance. Here in the province, we have a problem of long queues. The people tell me that the operating hours, they need to be extended. They are calling for those hours to be extended. They also say they have to wake up super early, Braden, just so that they can get assistance. We are told that the licensing centers in the province only operate from 7 a.m. up until 2 p.m. The biggest one Johannesburg operates from 7 a.m. up until 2:30 weekdays. And on weekends, the Transport Department tells me that they are trying to open more testing centers so that the backlog can decrease. They are telling me that they will be operating from 7 a.m. until 1 p.m. every Saturday and Sunday. This, of course, is going to be done so that the number of people who want to renew their licenses can decrease. I spoke to the Transport Department a bit earlier on, and this is what they had to say about the problem.
We're one of those provinces that was battling in terms of long queues in our testing stations. Like where we are in Rossborough, we are putting all measures in place to make sure that we are able to service our people. Obviously, there is a huge impact caused by COVID-19 because we are not able to service the same number that we service. On average, we'll service about 250 a day on a normal day, but because of COVID, we are servicing slightly over 100, so which is in an indication that there is a 50% reduction. We also have to apply rotation system in our staff members so that we don't have all of them at once within the premises because of COVID-19. But also we have a duty to protect members of the public who are coming here. That is why we can't allow everybody just to come in willy-nilly. We have to make sure that there are measures in place. We take a certain number a day. We subject them to screening to an extent that in our learners class we've had to reduce numbers. We will take 20 per session, but we have now reduced numbers to about 8 per session. So it's an indication that it's quite a serious challenge that has been posed by this pandemic.
Okay, that's a view there from the KwaZulu-Natal Transport Department on the whole issue of driver's licenses. Thank you very much, Letiwe Mdluli in Durban, Slindelo Masigana in Joburg, and Ronald Masinda in Cape Town. And of course,